Welcome to this episode of Back to the Story, where friends come together to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be your DM, Klaus. Let's get started.
When you see God's rest surrounded by armies, then know that his desolation has come near.
It is my destiny, not yours.
Really, it doesn't fucking matter if I'm ready or not. I have to deal with the end of the world, and I'm not ready for that.
The reason why any of us are enough for anything is because we have each other.
Everyone can change, not everyone will, but everyone can.
And every day has been beautiful since.
For these are the days of vengeance, to fulfill all that is written.
Yes, I know we all want to compare our god's dick sizes right now.
My glory is to protect. My virtue is sacrifice.
My curiosity is satisfied.
For your sins, I will allow you to seek the knowledge.
Have the courage to do what's right and not what's written.
And God's rest will be trampled underfoot by the heretics until the times of the harbingers are fulfilled.
We've gotten through this before. We can do it again.
You got this.
One more time. So you guys ready to play? Alright. Previously, as the divine gate fractures the sky overhead and the bronze scales hurtle towards their final conflict, they find themselves mustering a defense of the holy city of Nymunet from the will and the ancient shadow dragon Hex. The legions and cavalry of the undead surrounded the city, sieging the south gate as vampiric riders on giant bats flew overhead and into the city. The defense was led in large part by the vast army of Queen Isabella Wolfrath, fresh off their war with the Lunmeri and commanded by her general, Ludwig the Red. Luminant knights of Valisol on their sun horses countered the undead cavalry as Aaine's Vindicators on griffins and Akashan's Justicars on wyverns clashed with the vampiric batars in the cold night sky. This left the task of protecting the Opal of Osa to the golden dragon Tarsat and a select few dragonborn Justicars, Amethystus, Queen Wolfrath and her white wolves, and the bronze scales. The white wolves, prepared with large anchored ballistica they've used to fight dragons in the past. However, Empress Athenera, a Hellene descended from the legendary Galvadin Ralakir, Demiri Voss, king of the Last Will and Testament, and Grand Architect Inera Soltarian, a strange mage from a time before all struck the Rotunda, manipulating gravity to pull Queen Wolfrath and her white wolves off the mount and into the melee below. Clinging to what you could or flying, the bronze scales were able to stay atop as Hex, enveloped in shadow, landed and the clash began. Shadowed breath, cold and terrifying, drew from your life and threatened to separate souls from the body, but the scales stood tough and fought back. Vesper blessed a ballistica with holy light, firing it like a rushing comet into the shadowed beast. Felix took on his aeonic form, pink light resisting the dragon's breath. Ball flew in the rain, smashing with Avelmer before nearly falling out of the sky. 4 giant rooms of cinder and passion erupted in flames and brought the fight back. It looked like the scales might be able to win this, but Hex began to retreat. Ellory rushed after, forming a sphere of chaos in her hands, looking up towards the fleeing beast, but the night was shadowed, the rain blinding, and Hex was swift. Amson saw her aim, a sight he saw somewhere before, a portent of the future or the divines he knew not, but he did know one thing: Ellory would not miss. We come back to the story here. Hex's shadowed corpse fell from the thunderous clouds as Meli runs out just in time, as Empress Athenera Ralakir, King Demiri Voss, and Queen Isabella Wolfrath approached the mount. Tense diplomacy and conversation was held before they left, as Felix kept the inquisitive mage, the architect Ineras, from scavenging Hex's corpse. Cheers begin to be heard throughout the city as the will retreat, and the rain washes your wounds, leaving dark streaks. Ball and Vesper break and carve Hex's corpse, as Felix directs. Meli thinks on times past on the beaches of Embershore, and you all begin to take in the events of the last day. What would you like to do?
Resurrect Hex.
In pieces.
Roll initiative.
With no skin.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm skinning a dragon.
So who has come back around at this point? Is it mostly just spectators, or has anyone that we know showed up?
Mostly now, on your level, at the kind of the bottom of this mount, it's mostly spectators, soldiers, a few citizens begin kind of poking their head out of their homes. You do see above, it looks like wyverns and some griffins are beginning to land atop. So skinning Hex will take probably a couple hours. Between Ball and Vesper, you might be able to reduce that a bit. But y'all can certainly spend these next couple hours doing this as a small crowd begins to form around you.
I'm going to go over to Hampson, who, if I recall from our last session, was just playing some music, or...
I think he was sitting on a piece of rubble and writing.
Writing. Okay, that's what it was. I'm going to go over then and kind of loom over his shoulder and peek at what he's writing, which is mostly just my way of getting his attention in as irritating a fashion as possible.
I think Amson would take a little while to realize that Ellory's there. Oh. Sorry, you surprised me.
What you working on?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Secret diary?
No, I tend to just write words as they come and attribute meaning to them later.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Amson.
That's okay. If you read my book, neither do I.
I hate to interrupt, but looks like some folks are landing up there. Maybe we should go check in.
Yeah, we probably don't want them around here right now. Not exactly the best time.
Yeah. Figured you're better at being polite than I am. So.
Amson will close his book and stretch a little bit as he stands up. Perhaps. Let's see what we can do. Ask them to, go back to their homes where it's more safe.
I am going to point out to Amson the riders who I saw landing up above. Oh, well, I don't think they're too concerned with their own safety.
No, but we can at least tell the citizens to go back home for the time being.
We can try anyway.
Yeah. I don't exactly know how safe a dead dragon is, first off, and we don't know if there's a surprise waiting for us.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of glance at the others who are basically wading in dragon's blood at the moment, getting Hex.
Can I also take some samples of the dragon's blood?
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
Okay. And sorry to interrupt, but their breath weapon, does it come from something, or is it more of like an arcane kind of thing?
You can make a history or arcana check.
Oh, goodness. Okay, we'll do history, because I'm history buff. But not today, I'm not. 11.
You're not sure whether it comes from some gland or if it's just an innate magic within them.
Okay.
How many vials are you trying to fill?
Not many, maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, I'll say you can get 4 with your previous roll without having to roll again. And it will take, there are 3 of you working on it, so I'd say it's decently big dragon, probably 2-ish hours to finish up with those previous rolls, with Ball kind of help lifting and break and Vesper carving, Felix directing. So in about 2 hours, you'll have it completely clean. Joe, just kind of focus on that, and we'll push through 2 hours later.
Well, so I think Amson and I are going to go around and try and wave the crowd off.
What do y'all say? And then give me probably a persuasion, maybe intimidation, depending on what you say.
Go away, please. No. I think Amson will say something along the lines of, attention everyone, I understand that we have here a dead dragon, which is quite the sight to behold. However, I would like to remind you all that we were just besieged by a rather large army, and we have no idea if what's left inside this city, or if there's an ambush waiting for us or whatever. This would be quite the opportunistic time for that to take place, so we cannot guarantee that it's safe anymore, or that it's safe still right now. Please go back to your homes.
Ellory is kind of face-palming a little bit at this approach, and as Amson gets to the end of that, she kind of stands. No, she doesn't. If she's still able to fly, she's going to fly up like 10 feet above the heads of everyone and say, "Translation, he means fuck off and go home."
Amson, give me a persuasion check. I'll say it at advantage.
Oh, that's a good number. That's a better number. It's a lot. 31.
Jeez, okay. So Amson, as you begin to finish, you see several that are citizens that seem to kind of go back inside, pulling each other back inside, closing their windows that they were peering out of. One of the soldiers speaks up, "Right, you heard him, back inside." And then the few that are kind of left remaining as Ellory flies up and yells, they kind of scurry up. Even some of the soldiers seem to straighten their backs and their grips on their weapons and kind of regain the soldier's posture. The citizens are now all back inside their homes, and some of the soldiers are beginning to be dispersed, some of them being ordered around to move about and not just gather here.
Okay, and kind of brushing her hands off, Ellory floats back down to Amson. "Well, now that's taken care of, let's go up and see if there's anyone we need to talk to up there."
Sounds like a good idea.
And, what's Meli doing at the moment?
Good question.
I guess she's just watching you guys.
So she's not actively involved in the whole dragon situation. Eller's gonna call down to her as well. "Hey, Meli, you wanna come with us?"
Sure. Running over.
You guys hear splashing in puddles, turning in through one of the narrower roads, not the main way, but a smaller side street. You see a few large furred, wet, matted furred beasts and riders upon them. They're kind of riding in, not incredibly swiftly, but with a bit of pace into this small clearing where Hex landed. You can see one of the buildings where he landed initially before rolling off, the roof half broken. And one of these riders has red scaled armor, though it's hard to tell because it's covered in grime and gore, dark blood, and other liquids that are slowly being sloshed off. You see Ludwig the Red kind of dismounting and approaching, watching this carving up fest of Hex.
Vesper will glance up and roll her eyes, but she is trying to just throw herself into the work.
Not bad at all. I presume you all did this with aid of the Queen.
Strangely, she disappeared, so just us.
I see a ballistica in it. One of our weapons.
That none of your people were around to fire. Do you need something, or are you just interrupting?
I suppose I'm interrupting.
Well, I think you found your answer in conversation then.
He lets out a sigh and then gets back on his mount, his direwolf, and begins to ride up the mount.
Oh, if anyone's handing out food, could you get us some? Hungry work.
A loud groan, and the few other riders following him give you all the stink eye.
I appreciate you deeply, Felix.
That's a change. Look, I want to apologize for earlier. I don't do it much, so relish in it. As it turns out, it seems I do care about your feelings.
Oh, Vesper will stop what she's doing and kind of turn to face him.
It bothered me that you seemed upset. Doesn't happen. Apparently, I have grown fond of you morons. So I do apologize if disregarding your feelings before the battle made them worse. But I hope you... Oh, of course. But I hope you know it won't mean I'll be taking them into account on my decisions. Someone has to be objective.
I'm aware. And I appreciate the objectivity, even if it's incredibly frustrating sometimes. But we need it. And I can't be it like I used to be, so I'm glad we have you. And I'm sorry for letting it get the best of me.
Good. Now that was terribly uncomfortable for me, so can we just get back to work?
And Vesper will smile and just dig her knife into the dragon.
Okay, so you guys continue to carve as Amson and Ellory and Katie, are you staying here or going with them?
Going with them.
Okay. As you three begin to walk up the mount, as you crest the top there, the closer and closer you get, the rain begins to slow down. It's still trickling in, but it's not quite storming as it was before. And you can see and hear more and more movement slowly building and gathering as you approach the top. More wyverns landing, griffins. There's a few horses that trot by you up these large steps, and a few soldiers as well that walk, and some of them jogging behind. As you crest the top, you see a large conglomerate of individuals, some of whom you've seen before. You see Ludwig the Red, you see the High Beacon, you see Gath, several wyvern riders, Olivia New Dawn, several griffin riders, the wyverns and griffins and horses kind of kept off to the side as people trickle in and begin to gather around the table that is burnt and singed and probably cracked in a few places, but otherwise there, discussing amongst themselves. They're still very disorganized, still collecting themselves at this moment.
I'm going to go up to Gath first. That storm really came in handy.
Yes, it did.
I heard you did the unthinkable.
It sure seemed that way, though. I'm having a hard time believing it myself.
News travels fast. I think they're sending a few to confirm it here in a moment, but the armies on the outsides have retreated, as far as we can tell. We think there's a few operatives still in the city hiding, trying to root them out as best we can. But the large force has been pushed out.
That is good to hear.
Very good. Some losses, but not as many as we were worried we might take.
Amson will, after a pause and seeing Ellory thinking for a moment, will say, so why is everyone gathered about?
Well, they're trying to give each other reports, and it's a loud kind of cacophony of people talking to each other. Try to confirm things, find out what's going on, find out who's alive, who's not. See where we're at, count casualties. Things are gonna change. I've heard some are going to be heading towards the city for refuge. There's already been a lot, and I think we'll get a lot more, but others and Ellory should know this are thinking about leaving as well. There's a number of new followers to Voltamari who want to shift near the storm and sail to some remote island far from here. We're trying to find out who's going to go with them. But for now, take this. And he digs in his kind of side pouch and pulls out a dark blue, soaked with water, half cape, kind of sash that goes over one shoulder. The clasp being this symbology of a lightning bolt in a storm. The clasp over. It is damp, but whatever material is made out of the water seems to run off of it. A symbol of your station. Yeah. And if you want to be on one of those ships, Ellory, you got one. Maybe not a captain, but one day when you learn.
I smile at that as I accept this cloak. I haven't put too much thought lately about what I'm going to do after all this, but I think that would be good.
Well, we might just die in a horrible cataclysm, but I think thinking about what we'll do after this would keep us going. I might check in with a few others, and then head back to the temple, make sure everything's still all right there. I'll be there if you need me.
All right. Take care of yourself.
Good job, Ellory.
Thank you.
And he breaks away and separates.
I will put on this new cloak.
Well, now you look like a certified badass.
Are you saying I didn't before?
This just adds to it.
This is the certification, I guess.
Sure. Let's go with that.
Down below, you guys hear a few things landing. A couple wyverns and a griffin, with riders who, one of which dismounts off the griffin, an individual with dark grayish blue skin, bald hair, long, thick, dark beard, wearing armor and carrying a spear that's long enough to be a lance, who kind of approaches slowly towards the corpse of X, looking at the three of you who continue to carve into it. Well, it appears to be dead. Was sent to confirm it. Would you mind terribly? And he kind of holds up his spear.
I will, whatever bundle of skin I am holding, just look down at and look up at him. Sure, confirm away.
Right. And he, almost as in a show of formality, kind of walks up to the skull and kind of gives it a nudge, a kick, as the skull kind of rocks a few inches and then comes back into place.
Vesper pulls a handful of guts out and just looks at him like, satisfied?
Only if you plan to read those. I hope you do. It is good luck.
I might. I don't know how to read guts. I learned bones, but...
He kind of looks over his shoulder and gives them a nod to his accomplices before he takes a few steps. Kind of leans in and whispers a little bit so that just the three of you can hear him.
my job is just to confirm, but if you do not have use for some of these things, I would be very pleased to take away a small trophy. He kind of puts his fingers together and taps the tips of his fingers together. If you're not using the liver, I would be very appreciative if I could take that.
I will lean around him. Felix, do we need the liver?
No. Though it would make a nice hat.
You can have it. Let me get it for you.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Just size-wise, like, do you realize you're, like, having to enter this dragon, right? Like...
Oh, yeah. I'm already covered in blood. It's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And the liver is also size-wise large, very large. Do you want to try to take a few minutes and carve out the whole thing, or just carve off him a piece?
I'll carve him a piece. Also, I think I totally misheard. I thought he said read the entrails, which I'm like, yeah, that's a divination technique. Did he say eat?
He did initially, and then he asked for the liver.
Okay. Yeah, I will cut him off a sizable chunk of it.
Okay. That doesn't take too long. And you hand him the liver. Oh, thank you. A very deep bow. Bless you. Bless you very much. I will use this later. And he bows again as he backs off, walking backwards back towards his griffin, hurriedly stuffing it into his pouch or whatever he has. And as they remount and take back off, there's still a bit of a crowd that has kind of regathered after Amson, Ellory, and Katie left. They mostly seem to be soldiers, though, and are giving you all a decently wide berth. Back up at the top, you can see the crowd is beginning to kind of form up better. Where before you saw maybe officers, sergeants, lieutenants, whatever, conversating with each other, passing that on to commanders and higher ups. And now it seems like most of the main things have kind of been sorted out, and the table is beginning to form into those more organized groups based on the deity and their affiliation with faith.
I'll kind of like lean over to Meli and Ellory and say, do we want to be here for this meeting? Is it all that important?
I have the feeling at least some of them are going to want to hear from us. And it's either that or watch the others carving into dragon innards.
DM, is Amethystus at this meeting?
She, looking around, you didn't see her initially, but she is now kind of head up the stairs and is beginning to walk over, talking to people kind of on the way as they stop her. She's like a famous person trying to walk through a convention, trying to make it her way to you. As y'all lock eyes, and she kind of works through the crowd.
Does she seem to be in good health? Because I know she wasn't.
Clutching her side and limping a little bit still, but she seems like she was earlier able to move a bit better now than she was.
Well, I want to talk with Amethystus a little bit anyways, so I guess we'll have to stay for a bit.
Yes, I think we need to talk to her.
Some whistles and calls are held. People holding their hands up, trying to quiet the crowd as people slowly, the murmurs roll down to near silence and never quite gets there. And the high beacon, your golden eyes, the one who resurrected Calvin with your help, taps her spear upon the ground as the torches around, some of which went out, reignite, and a light, both from the torches and from the tip of her spear, glows, illuminating this place. The armies of the will, the undead, have been pushed back. There's a roar of joy, shouts. She holds her hands up again to quiet them down. And it has been confirmed that the Dragon of Shadow Hex has been slain. Again, a roar of applause and yells and joy throughout this small crowd. Quietened down. We have many to thank for this. Some of you who have been in Nymunet for years, others new friends, and helping both in army, Queen Isabella and her commander, the cavalry of the Luminets, the Vindicators, the Justicars, the Stormbringers, and there's another group who proved pivotal. She looks over towards Amson, Meli, and Ellory, who I met some time ago under distressful circumstances. Their friend, Conrad Calvin, a Luminate, lost his life but returned back to the light to serve us today. And his friends, some here, slayed Hex. There's a less of a roar and more of a murmur of some shouts, a few or more murmured whispers as they kind of lean over and ask, who are these people? She takes a few steps over to you to kind of point towards you, some of the crowd dispersing a little bit so they can better see you, opening up this circle of people to witness you three standing there. It has been some time. I don't recall your names. Please tell us, confirm to us that the beast is dead.
As everyone's attention comes over to the group, Amson awkwardly waves at everybody.
You would think Amson would be the one most comfortable with attention.
The gaze of several queens and the equivalent of popes of their entire faiths standing on God's rest, the holy divine Vatican city of the entire world, and their leadership looks to you three.
We can confirm that Hex is very much dead. And you can see for yourself below if you care to. As for who we are the Bronze Scales. This is Amson Armsblossom, Meli Forsky, and my name is Ellory Goldsmith.
At this point, another speaks up. Blonde hair, large eyes, armored. Olivia Newdawn, who some of you recognize, kind of approach. I can speak to their character. I've known a few of them. And Bronze Scales, you have my thanks. And if it wasn't offered before, let me state here and now that you will always have a place, if you need, to rest, to heal, to eat within our temple. And in our citadel, says the High Beacon of Valasol. In this scale, the precipice, steps up one dragonborn, scaled and armored. And you have kind of a and my axe situation where a number of individuals offer for you to be able to stay and eat and offer room and board within their means to their various temples and estates. Side mechanical note, I put a little feature on your character sheets on Roll20, and you have this feature called Slayers of Hex, which is basically saying just that by invoking the Bronze Scale, saying who you are, you may have someone help with room and board to the best of their means. After this procession of offerings and some cheers go around, a loud clapping from the side. Yes, yes, yes. The dragon is dead. That is what they do. They die, they get killed. And yes, the army has been pushed back, and their infiltrators are being hunted down. But there's more to discuss here.
beyond the cleanup of this city, beyond rewarding adventurers. As you see Ludwig the Red kind of standing up at this point. This city was saved in part from your knights and your flyers, and this ragtag group of individuals, but in no small part was it saved by the armies of Wolfrath, Queen Wolfrath. We have the largest army mustered here by a large margin. And it was us who died at the gates, and us who pushed them back and kept them from sweeping through the city. We intend to stay here. We intend to ride this collapse out here in God's rest in Nymunet, in what might be the last city. But there are some terms that my queen would like to bring before you. I hope you would find agreeable and fair. Feeding an army this size, clothing, equipping, protecting this city, it takes quite a lot. Over the next few days, we will discuss your contributions for our assistance in this matter. Panning across the crowd, there are scowls, grumblings, murmurs coming from everyone besides Ludwig and his retinue. The Queen Wolfrath is nowhere to be seen.
DM, I have an important question.
Yeah.
What's the diameter of this circle meeting?
That's a good question. Let's see.
Also, is he within, fireball range, or...?
He's definitely in fireball range.
Oh, good thing.
The only question we really need to answer.
Just so the table is maybe 55 feet across, 60, and the crowd kind of expands out from there. So there's probably at least 10 feet worth of people, maybe 15 around that.
Okay, I'm just going to cast Silence centered on Ludwig the Red.
And furthermore, and the sound stops.
As the crowd is murmuring, I suppose reacting to Ludwig and what he's been saying, I whisper to Amson, didn't it seem to you like Isabella had some kind of understanding with Athenira?
Yeah, I don't like all of this.
Of course, we have a bit of an understanding too.
Yeah, but I'll save the city.
As you're whispering to each other, you can tell Demiri tells what's happened, and his face is turning red, and he's getting angry, and he's clearly trying to yell, and just no sound is going out. The rest of the
Ludwig?
crowd begins. What did I say?
Demiri?
Sorry, Ludwig. They're not twins, I promise.
No, the other asshole in gaudy armor.
That's right. Well, Ludwig the Red, his face is turning red as he is yelling, but not to be heard, and the rest of the crowd begins to laugh, and you can hear some of them as a large portion of the crowd is left outside of that radius, as he is yelling and banging on the table, and you can't hear any of it. You each feel kind of a tap on your shoulders, turning around to see Amethystus there in her human form, dark skin, freckles, wild, long hair, kind of hunched over a bit, using a stave to kind of help her walk, smiling, even a slight chuckle. Don't worry about them. The leaders of this city have dealt with far greater things. They'll handle them. Let's take a walk, shall we?
Yeah, I think it's time for us to get out of here.
Your friends, are they
She kind of looks off the cliff down below.
They're fine. They're, working on getting what they can out of Hex. And I kind of realize at that moment what we know about her connection to Hex. And kind of trail off. I'm not sure you want to see that.
I would rather not. No. How about this? You do what you need to do, and I can meet you later in your old room, perhaps? The one we met before?
Yeah, we can meet there.
Okay. I'll meet you there in a few hours.
Are you doing okay?
Better. We're making progress. No small part thanks to Meli here. She has a keen understanding of curses and is a quick pickup of the dark arts. Just curious. Perhaps we'll discuss that at another time.
I have a keen understanding of everything.
Of course, I'm sure. It's impressive. In a few hours. I'll see you then. She kind of rejoins and finds a seat kind of on the edge, further away from the table, and kind of just observes. Her eyes kind of glossing over, as if she's not there, not present.
Let's take this opportunity to make our way out of here.
So you guys make your way down. At this point, the rain has stopped. It is early in the morning, deep in the middle of the night. The clouds have cleared, revealing the stars, the cracked sky leaking death energy, and the serpent leaking poison and pestilence overhead as you make your way down and rejoin Vesper, Ball, and Felix, who are finishing up. We'll kind of fast forward a little bit as you're just finishing up, gathering all of the scales and putting it somewhere. Bag of holding? Sphere?
Sphere.
Yeah,
Okay.
the sphere.
Ferrying it into the sphere.
Can we also take some teeth? And I'd like to cut up the rest of the liver, since that's clearly something I can sell.
Give me another survival check.
Okay. It's a little early, but I think I'm going to use my DM advantage just because I don't want to fuck this one up.
You'll get advantage from Ball and Felix.
Okay.
So don't worry about that.
Never mind. Cool. That will be a 29.
Yeah, you're able to, it's more of a container problem than anything else for the liver. Yeah. But you're able to get as much as you want to put it somewhere. I don't know if you have a container.
I'll figure that out later.
Okay, wrap it in some cloth for now. Yeah. The teeth, you're able to kind of break off these large teeth. With that high roll, you can definitely get the longer incisors, which are dark for most of it, but the sharper edge and the point are lighter, like the sheen of black oil. As you pull off and collect 4 incisors and 8, or 4 fangs or incisors and 8 kind of regular dragon's teeth.
Awesome.
Or shadow dragon teeth. As you see, Meli, Amson, and Ellory kind of rejoining at the base of the mount.
Vesper is in a slightly better mood, having been working, and is trying to like tease Ball, like, oh, you know, you have a spot right here, and is just smearing more blood on his face.
Ball thinks you're sincere and is like actually like trying to help him clean it off. Thank you. I didn't notice that one. It's been a bloody battle.
Well, that's finally done. I guess the rest can be left for the scavengers. What are you? What have you been up to? Rest of the city survive okay?
So far.
Yeah. It seems like the defenders did pretty well.
Amethystus wants to talk to us at some point tonight.
She's going to meet us back at the rooms that we have reserved.
Great. I need a bath.
Though we're also essentially welcome to stay at any of the temples in the city. Seems they like us.
Did the wolf rats make a scene?
Yes. I think they're dealing with that now. I don't trust any of them.
I don't want the city to fall from the hands of our enemies into those that would hold the city hostage.
Lesser evil is still evil.
Yes, but it's also someone else's problem.
Yeah, I don't really want to get too deep into the politics of this place.
Not when we've got a world to save.
We can worry about it later.
That's optimistic. Well, get back to the inn, wash up, group up and have a chat until Amethystus comes to get us? Or talk to us, and then she can join in?
Yeah.
Ellory, I need 500 gold.
Oh, why do you need 500 gold?
Further supplies for what I need to build X, or out of Hex, and a lot of wine.
Wine sounds really good at the moment. Well, we're starting to run a little bit on the low side. I can give you 500, but we might need to think about if we have to replenish anything.
I might have an idea for how to do that. At least part of it. I don't know how much it'll go for. The dragon liver. People want it.
Huh.
Why would people want dragon liver?
It actually makes great pate.
Yeah, that's why they want it.
No.
I kind of raise an eyebrow at Vesper.
What?
Sure, you don't want to keep that?
I'm positive.
Do they know what goes through a dragon's liver?
Probably not, or they doubt they would eat it.
Well, that's good for us then. That they don't know.
And it's quite big. There's a lot of pieces we could sell. Probably hit at the alchemy shops.
Yeah, just keep all of this out of the sight of Amethystus.
Yeah.
That might be a little tricky tomorrow, but we'll get there.
Well, anyway, I hand over 50 platinum.
Okay. So as you go...
Sorry, can I borrow some money as well?
What do you need?
I need to copy a spell in for my spellbook.
And how much do you need for that?
I have plenty of those supplies, so I have 825 gold worth of fancy paper and inks.
Oh, hell yeah.
So,
please, can I have 300 gold worth of that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It is amazing to me that some paper and ink can be that expensive.
Felix Sanders like 3 sheets and a bottle.
I immediately sit down on the floor and start.
I get it.
Maybe we should go to an inn first, Meli.
Yeah, let's go back to our rooms.
Okay, so you guys finish up with X and transport everything into the sphere. Having this conversation as you're walking back towards the inn. Along the way, you can see some soldiers still kind of riding through the streets, a few citizens coming out, a few individuals already in this kind of celebratory fashion. The closer you get to crossroads where there's lots of inns and bars, you see people drinking and dancing in the streets, in the puddles, soldiers to no avail trying to get them to go back inside. And is slowly ramping up as you kind of move throughout the city. Eventually making your way to the inn, the doors are completely open and it is busy as hell. As people are all crowding around the bar trying to throw coins to get their drinks filled.
Before we go inside, since this is the last place that I saw the Raven, I guess I'm kind of looking around for him. Also, in general, as we're traveling through the city, for any sign of him.
Make a perception check or investigation.
Okay, which is better now? I think perception's probably still better.
Disadvantage.
Yeah. Okay, I have erased and rewritten some of these numbers on my character sheet enough that it's very hard to read them now. 15.
You look around on your way back. You don't see a raven or any birds at all, for that matter. As you guys kind of re-enter to the now very busy inn, are you guys heading to your rooms, or?
Yeah, Felix will go purchase some wine for the party with the funds. We're going fancy, so just give me a ballpark number. It's Ellory's money. He doesn't care.
Okay. $2 Chuck is a silver. Kind of mid-tier is 2 silver. They have a few bottles of better wine, which is like 5 silver each, but they only probably have like 3 or 4 bottles of that.
I will clear them out of the good ones.
Okay.
And if anybody is currently drinking them, I will yoink it out of their hand as I go. No. Hi, savior of the city here. Give me that and that. Thank you. Killed a dragon today. Move. Covered in its blood.
Their cheers throughout, inebriated, not really sure if you're telling the truth or not, but they yell anyway and cheers and slosh beer foam on your shoes. But you are able to collect the wine.
And I'm going to kind of push forward with Felix. Find somebody who works here. I don't really care who. Hey, could we get a bath or 2, or however many you have?
Ma'am, I'm not sure if you've recognized, but it is a very busy evening. I'm not sure if I will be able to get to that.
I
just kind of gesture to...
Yeah, Vesper will step up behind Ellory and just like,
yeah,
she is crawled inside the dragon. She's covered in everything. And it's just like...
We've had a real fucking busy evening ourselves.
I see. Please don't drip that on the tapestries. I will...
Well, a bath would help solve that problem.
Don't drip it on the tapestries, and I will get your baths ready.
Thank you.
Give me a few minutes.
My God. And he scurries off. So you guys can drop off your stuff, or if you want to, drop off things in your room. And if you'd like, eventually head down to the basement where a few tubs have been set up. There are 3 of them separated by basic curtains, and 1 extra initial one, which is just set up clearly just to wash the initial grime off, so you're not soaking in your grime. Luckily, the rain got the top layer off.
I know that there are others who need this more than I do, so I'm not going to actually claim one of these baths yet. But I am going to go ahead and take off my clothes in preparation.
All right, we all bathe.
Okay. Are y'all wanting to conversate during this or after? Do you guys take a few minutes to clean up and then meet back in the room, or are y'all having this conversation while you're cleaning up? What's the backdrop to this conversation?
I kind of like the idea of it being in the bath. I think that's kind of...
Yeah.
I am all for bathhouse group discussion before we meet up with Amethystus.
Okay. So these baths are really more like large wooden barrels that you would like smash grapes in to make wine that have been converted. 2 people can fit into each one, except for Ball probably has to take one solo. But otherwise y'all can kind of pick a bath, get in it, and move the curtain so that you can kind of able to see each other and speak to each other.
I apologize to whoever is sharing with me.
I assume Amson. Felix will sigh and... Oh, wait, no. Meli will probably bathe with Ellory, so he gets one to himself.
As Amson relaxes, he'll say, "Did anybody else just realize how tired they are?"
And we've only been awake for a few hours.
To be honest, I feel pretty fucking energized.
It's been a bit of a, couple days.
Vesper just sinks down to her chin in the water.
I think it'll hit me in an hour or two.
Well, a lot's happened in the last couple days, and we haven't really had a chance to talk. And personally, I've noticed you've seemed a bit distracted, particularly since we left the Grove. And obviously, a lot happened there. What I need to know is that all of you are still on board.
I mean, still on board for saving the world, yeah. On board with how to do it? What if Mother Willow was right?
She is right. It's going to suck for quite some time unless the gods, I don't know, decide to leave us alone. Somehow I doubt that that's an option. But the alternative is nothing.
What if there's a way to stop this without bringing down the gate?
Parts of it are already broken. Maybe there are ways to use that to our advantage to end the paradox at the places where it's already come down without taking the rest of it.
Yeah. Maybe get into a crack somehow.
Now, DM question for clarification purposes. Based on what we know, the Divine Gate... I'm trying to figure out if the Divine Gate is independent of the split, or does the fact that Black Star and... why can't I remember her name? Nersine split. Did that create the gate, or is it just keeping the paradox apart? I guess. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm trying to...
More of the last one. I think I see what you're asking. Their split didn't create the gate. Nersine, who was a Vumeri, an ancient form of elf, the prototype before they were elves, and the druids were conducting a ritual as the gate was being constructed, and either this ritual itself or a combination of the gate being formed as this ritual was being completed split Nersine into what remains of her and then Black Star.
Got it. Somewhere along the line, I got that the ritual was creating the gate, but that is not the case.
Right. It's a separate event that interacted with the creation of the gate.
Got it.
And
okay.
Did we learn what that ritual was?
I don't think y'all learned any specifics. They were trying to stop the gate from being formed, I think is what y'all learned.
Okay.
Got it.
Or channel power from it.
Well, that's all well and good, but how do we get something like Nersine or a Harbinger through a gate? The gate prevents deities from passing. Their energy is too strong. It would depend on what Nersine counts as. Black Star can't pass. She's firmly stuck on that side because her energy is blocked by the gate. But Nersine? Maybe. Still doesn't help us find her or capture her. We don't even know what she is.
And do they just have to be on the same side of the gate for once? Or is it the fact that the gate opened between them? Is it its very existence that's keeping them apart?
What we learned so far is that if the will succeeds in bringing down the gate, it should merge them at that moment. So theoretically, perhaps if the gate no longer separates them, perhaps they would reform.
How much do you think Nersine needs her Harbingers in order to accomplish her goal?
I mean, we haven't directly seen her involved in any of the events we've seen. It's all been the will agents, people we suspect are Harbingers, and Athenera gave us some evidence to say that she has at least been in touch with them, if not her own that is speaking with her somehow.
That's a good question, though. How much of it is needing them to do the work, and how much is needing them to just keep the silver ones at bay?
Because, I mean, they've been whittled down over other attempts. Maybe if enough of them are gone,
then they will come back in the next cycle of this, and you all will be dead, and I'll have to do this again.
Which is why the paradox has to end.
No, I mean, some of them, didn't somebody say that they've been taken out permanently, some of them? They're no longer...
Not that I'm recalling.
None
believe...
can be... Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
None can be... From what you gleaned talking from various entities and research, is that no harbinger can be killed permanently. When they're killed, they're in a way reincarnated, so to speak, to use the best word I can find, which is why this cycle has been so different. The harbingers on at least one side, on the Crimson side, seem to have been alive longer. There's a number of them kind of working together. They're not babies that are not going to be able to do anything for 20 years. So if they are killed, they will be reincarnated and eventually try again. And the temporary solution, kicking the can down the road, is killing the harbingers, which is easier, can be done without the gate coming down, but they will be reborn and will try again. The permanent solution is to let the gate fall or help the gate fall, at which point they will become permanently killable. And if they are killed then, they are not reincarnated. That's sort of the theory.
I had the impression that some of them weren't coming back.
I thought that too. I think it was just a misunderstanding earlier on. I thought some of the silver were gone. They're just delayed. Basically, yes. Crimson half got a head start this cycle.
Yes.
Okay. So, seems like we're in the same place we were before. If we can find a way to stop Nersine without having to take down the Divine Gate and subject the world to all the destruction that would come from that, that would be ideal, but...
Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find anything. We can look. I mean, the gate is damaged now. Perhaps there's more leeway, but it's a big if, and every moment that we spend putting our energy towards that means that we're not necessarily putting it towards what we know will work.
And not to play Seether's advocate, but the thing is, the anchors that have already broken, it's raising undead, it's poisoning water and spoiling food. Say we just stop it where it's at right now. Does this keep happening forever and ever? Undead, acrid rivers, or maybe tearing it down and letting the world heal after whatever happens is better.
The world survived a very long time before the gate went up. No one alive now remembers that. But there was a long portion of our history, and yes, certain advancements in society couldn't take place with the gods hammering our world and fighting their wars, but maybe there's another solution, because clearly this one didn't work.
Maybe somebody needs to fucking knock some sense into the gods.
Well, it would probably be smart to talk to one before we do this. Obviously not yours, Ellory. I think she would smite us on the spot.
I don't know about that necessarily, but she's certainly not afraid of conflict.
Her angel almost killed you for trying to kill the people that came from Felnor. I don't think she's going to be very accommodating.
Angels are assholes.
And you think the gods they derive their might from aren't?
I think the gods are more complicated than some of their servants. But I take your point. Who do you have in mind?
I look at Vesper.
You want to try and talk to Aileen?
Well, your wet blanket of a deity is the goddess of forgiveness. If anybody is going to understand the plight and maybe take leniency, it's probably her.
Probably. Do you have any solution, any suggestion of how we can talk to her? Because whatever I tried never works, so I'm all ears.
We have magic chalk that lets us go anywhere we want. Don't your books have a description of her plane? Surely she would let you.
Will that work on the other side of the gate?
Other teleportation does. God's realms are typically entirely within their domain. She would be able to decide whether or not the magic would work, but the magic should go through, connect. It's up to her whether or not she decides to block it. And I guess you would have your answer then if she does.
Well, it's worth a try. Do you think she'd be the only one who would listen?
How much of this chalk do we have left?
Like 9 uses, I think? We only used 1, right?
That sounds right.
That's worth.
Says on the handout, this pouch of shifting chalk has enough for 5 uses.
Oh, 5. I thought that was 10. So 4.
I mean, we're going to
10
use
last
it.
campaign. She's skimping on us now.
I mean, if we're going to use it, I feel there's no better use for it at this time.
Don't we have to figure out where you get those wings anyway?
That's true.
How many places do we need to go?
Well, I think talking to AIE now would be one that we need to go.
Wherever the locust star is. We need
to talk to Amethystus
probably the
about
wings
that.
of Diether.
Well,
Talk to her in a moment. And
yes,
we need
perhaps
that light
we should
from
get
hell.
pants first.
Right.
There are at least 4 other places we have to go, though. So we'll end up using the rest of this, I'm sure. Do you suppose if I tried to cast Sendin instead of actually praying or doing one of my other divine appeals to the gods, that she'd hear me then? A more direct message.
That's a good fucking question. It would probably be worth a try, at least.
Tricky, because you haven't actually met her. I know that.
I'd say we're familiar, though.
Are you, though?
Good question.
There's not also, just to derail the conversation, there's also the fact that we now have a direct line of communication to our enemy. Or I do. Not that I am the king of negotiation, but...
Do we know how much time we have?
No. But we could try to find out.
Well, Amethystus... No. Who was it who said it? Tasha, or her memory, suggested that we might have 2 months. And we've used...
I think 2 weeks.
What?
And a half? 2 weeks.
Not that much time.
It certainly feels much longer than it's been, but no, yeah, it's only been a few days almost.
We went to Nymunet.
About a week.
We went to Ursatha. We came back from that. We went to Domheim. We traveled for a couple days. We came back here.
It's been about a week.
Week and a half. We were down 3 in there, plus we slept last night. And I think there was a day between Ursatha and heading out again anyway. We did sleep before we left from Ursatha.
But that was just the first day of our
night.
travel below.
Yeah. No.
Not
It's
like
also
a full
2
day in
months-ish,
between.
right? So, I don't know what the error bars are on that. Is it 2 months or 6 weeks or 10 weeks?
I think that Tasha probably had the right idea, but I will caution, when you poke around with knowledge of the future, things tend to change, whether you want them to or not. Tasha also saw Hex at the final battle, and he will no longer be joining them.
Does that speed things up or slow things down?
Depends on what they needed Hex for, I think.
What's the deal with the fucking opal, by the way? Why did he need that? Why were they helping him to get it? Was it just to get him on their side fully, or did they need it for something?
I mean, that'd be a question for them. Hex seemed to imply that he wanted it, and I don't think it's the first time he's tried to get it. There was decades ago now, something in White Guard, another dragon tried to take it. Theoretically, combined with 2 other pieces, it can make a dragon a god.
Wow. Good thing he didn't get it. It sounded like it might be both, though. I mean, it was a relic of, not Akashon, I don't think. The one before that was him and Sahara. I don't remember the name. The original dragon deity, though. It was a part of Osa. It was a part of Osa. It was a fragment of Osa. So, I'm sure it had more than just symbolic meaning.
Well, hopefully killing Hex, preventing him from getting his claws on it, and preventing him from helping them any further will slow things down. At the very least, I really don't think we ought to be helping them bring down the gate any faster than they already are.
Counterpoint, if we help them do it, we can be there when it happens.
And they may know how to get Narasine there.
I have the feeling she's going to be there anyway.
I imagine if we're going to help them, we'll need them on our side as well as being on theirs. They need to understand what's at stake at the end of the universe, and I think we started getting that through to at least Athenira. There's going to have to be, if we do work with them, some serious compromise on both of our sides, and I imagine we'll have to make concessions we're not entirely comfortable with. But hopefully so will they. But I'm in favor of it if it will work.
Well, I can talk to her tomorrow. I'll inscribe Aeon in something else. He can teach me diplomacy, or at least temporarily.
Meli, I know you're not really caught up with all this, but do you have an opinion?
There. Current plan sounds fine from my limited knowledge.
All right. If I were to talk to Athenira tomorrow, what are the goals with that conversation? Temporary ceasefire with Nymunet? Any indication of what their plans are? Offer to aid? I think the temporary ceasefire is the best thing, or the most important. And hopefully even just get a sense of how much time we have reliably.
My main concern is the point I doubt either of us want to move on, which is the death of Alisol. I know Athenira wants him dead. That's her main goal in tearing the gate down. And I know that's probably something none of us are particularly happy to hear. My opinion is that the life of one being, even a god, isn't worth the death of everything. So I am flexible in that point of negotiation. But I'm sure everyone else
Calvin would have an opinion about that.
The other thing is that if the gate is down, all of a sudden the gods are going to be directly affecting this world now. Balasor's dead. The place is going to get really dark for some time.
Well, thankfully, we already know of another god who wants to take him out and probably take his power, so it's fine. Alright, I'm starting to get pruny, and Amethystus will be here soon. We're at a loss until we can at least talk to her. Figure out if she knows anything. We can ask if she has any leads on breaking through the gate, or prisons fail, but we can ask about prisons.
We also should ask her if she's found anything out about how we can get to those other boons, weapons.
Yes. And if she can help us that, maybe even get us there, so we can save a little bit of chalk.
How many more do we need?
To arm this group? 3.
We're planning on going after this, locust star whatever. We need the light
in order to even fight in the place we're supposed to do it.
So that for sure.
I think maybe the light might be... We might want that to be our next one. It's because of the time crunch. So that we for sure have that.
I know I don't need anything more for myself, necessarily, but I would like to look into the armor of sin. Or at least figuring out if it would be a good idea to contact these ancients. Maybe they'd be willing to help.
I'm a bit curious about that one myself, actually.
I'm more than a bit curious.
What is with you two in sacrificing things?
I'm not real happy about that part, to be perfectly honest.
And yet you run towards them.
Well, one thing I'm wondering about, what's the text of... What was the wording of that one?
Only those willing to perform great sacrifice can don the armor of sin, for heavy is the burden.
I kind of gesture to my eye. I think I've proven that I'm willing to perform great sacrifice.
Well, I certainly hope it's not another body part.
Self-sacrifice, though. Could be something else. Didn't the vision show us a child?
Yeah, if they want me to kill a child, they can fuck off.
I mean, it is called the armor of sin. I don't think you're going to put it on by doing something nice.
It's true. Though Ursatha also did refer to our sins. I don't know if that counts, or if there's something else specific that these ancients want or need.
But we can find out.
We can find out.
I'm not a self-sacrificing person. I never have been. But this is bigger than me, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. So I'd rather... And I think she kind of stops for a moment and has to... I'd rather it be myself sacrificing something than anyone else. Everyone else has already given a lot. So unless it is a child, depending on what it is, I might be willing to step up to the plate. For once.
I kind of feel like we should hold that one for last, though. Just if we have time.
Well, let's talk to Amethystus, see if we can figure out where the light is. Though, a trip to the black pit we do know where it is. The black pit of the abyss itself.
Yeah.
Beyond the gates of Armageddon.
Sounds like a real lovely place.
Great.
So as you all are finishing up your baths and reclothing, beginning to head back to your rooms, we'll go ahead and take a break there, and we'll come back in a few minutes.
Next time on Back to the Story.
That is the way of things. Sometimes these things can be a wild goose chase. Other times they're just ancient relics from time before. I've been around long enough that I worry at times that my morality is shifted. I've seen so many die, and I fear I can be overly pragmatic at times.
This episode is continued in Part 2, which uploads Friday and will be available wherever you're listening now. For behind the scenes and more, check out our Tumblr, back-to-the-story at tumblr.com, and follow us on Twitter for updates, at back2_the-story. And if you're feeling especially generous, feel free to buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/backtothestory. We'll see you next time in Norithville.